So if you are a beginner and you wanted to learn Django but you don't know where to start from, this tutorial is for you. In this tutorial, we'll be building a simple Django project that will expose you to the basic fundamentals of Django. We'll be starting everything from scratch, so if you're a beginner, no need to be afraid because I'll take you from absolute scratch where we'll build everything step by step, making sure that you understand everything we are going to be doing in this tutorial. And you also have access to the code and also know how to even implement it on your own. So let's first see a demo of what we are going to be building. So we are going to be building a simple to-do app, and as shown on the screen, you can create a to-do. So first you can type in any title, and I will just call this title maybe learning. And in the description, you can describe this title that you've just typed in, like what will you be doing. And I'll just write, I'll be learning something new today. All right, so that's the description, and you can add the date to it as well. So you can add any date at all you want to it, and you can add to do. It's also not mandatory to add dates because of how we'll be designing it, because some people will be lazy to add a date. So when you click on add to do, this will be added. And you can also view your to-dos. So when you click on view all your to-dos, this will show you the list of to-dos you have. So these are some to-dos I've already created, and right here is the last one we've just created. So we said learning, and I'll be learning something new today. All right, over here you'll be able to edit a to-do. So let's say you want to edit the to-do we've just added. You can just click here and you get all your to-dos and be able to edit them. So maybe learning, I can change it to what learning Django, and you can right here save it, and this will update it right here. So instead of learning, we now have learning Django right here. Okay, apart from this, you can also be able to delete a to-do. So you can see a delete button under each and every to-do. So we can just click on delete, and this is going to delete the to-do we've just created. So I think these are all the functionalities of what we'll be building today, and this is going to expose you to a lot of things in Django. So if you are a beginner, don't worry, you are at the right place, and you are going to learn something that is going to change your life forever. Ready to do it? Let's get right into it. Alright, so to start off, I'll create a new folder on my desktop, and I'll name this folder to do because we are coming to create a to do app. So I'll name it to do. Okay, the next thing is to drag and drop this folder into your Visual Studio Code. So I'll just drag and drop it into Visual Studio Code, and this will open up my Visual Studio Code in that particular folder directory. Now the next step is to create a virtual environment. So the idea of creating a virtual environment is to prevent conflict between the libraries we'll be installing. So if you have existing projects and you don't want conflict between libraries, you don't want these libraries to have conflict between each other, the best thing is to create a virtual environment for each and every project you do. So we'll be doing the same thing. I'm using Windows, so I'll just press Ctrl plus backtick, and this will open up my terminal for me. And on this terminal, I'll just type python -m venv and the name of the virtual environment, which I will also call venv. When I click enter, you can see a folder just pop up here, and this folder is our virtual environment. So the virtual environment is in the process of creating. So after creating it, we have to activate it, and then we can install the libraries we want. Alright, the wait is over. The virtual environment is being created successfully. So now let's activate it. On Windows, to activate it, just type the name of the virtual environment /scripts, and then you add activate to it. So just like this, you hit enter, and this will activate the virtual environment for you. In order to be sure your virtual environment is actually being activated, you can see the name of your virtual environment will be here now, which is venv. So that means our virtual environment is now activated. We can now go ahead and install the libraries we need. So we'll install Django. I'll just do pip install Django, and this will go ahead and install Django in this particular environment we have created. So now Django has been successfully installed, and we got a warning that we should upgrade our pip. We can choose to ignore this. It's not that necessary, but you can also just upgrade it by doing pip install hyphen upgrade pip. I think the command is also given, but for now I'm not going to do that. The next step I'll do here is to create a requirement.txt file, so that in case after this application you want to deploy it, we'll get all the requirements. So to do that, just type pip freeze and then add a greater sign there and just write requirement.txt, and this will get you all your requirements by default. So you hit enter on that and you can see we got a requirement.txt file, and when we open this file you can see these are all the libraries we've installed so far. So in case you are moving forward and we install any other libraries, you just have to run this same command pip freeze requirement.txt, and this will update our requirement.txt file. So that's just by the way. All right, the next step is to create a Django project. Okay, so we need to create a Django project. For that, you type Django -admin and then you type start project. So it's the same word, start project is the same word. You don't have to give any space between them. And then you give the name of the project you want to start. So I'll call this main and I'll add dots at the end because I don't want two folders. If you don't add dots after the name of your project, it's going to create two folders. So it will create main twice and the project will be in the second folder. But I only need one folder, so I have to add dot in front of it. So I'll click enter and this should create my project for me. So you can see the project has been created. We have our main file, and this main file is what will control all other apps we'll be adding into this project. Okay, so that's it. And before we even run this server to see what we've got, let's create an app. Okay, let's create our app we need. So remember I told you in the introduction that we are coming to create a to-do list app. So let's start an app and we'll call this app to do. So for that, I'll also type not Django, I'll type pymanage.py start app, and I'll give this app a name called to do because we are coming to create a to-do list app. I'll hit enter and this will create the app in the same directory. So you can see we have a to do app here, and inside to do we also have some Python files. So I'll close this app here, and now let me clear the terminal and run the server so that we see if we have done all the installations in a very good way. So I'll do python manage.py and I'll write run server. And when I hit enter, this is going to run the server for me. And I'll click this and this will open up this particular link that tells us that what we've successfully installed Django correctly. So the install works successfully. Congratulations. So you should be proud of yourself. If you have been able to follow and you are able to do this, you should be proud of yourself. So from here I'll go back to our Visual Studio Code, and over here we are coming to do some couple of things. The first thing we have to do is to connect this our to do app to the main app, because the main app is like a driver for all other apps you'll be installing. So you have to connect any other app you've installed and let the main app know about it so that the main app can communicate with that particular app. So in my main app, I'll open settings.py, and this is the place where you have to add all other apps. So let me close this terminal. This is the place where you add all the other apps you have installed. So this is like a some documents that is telling you how the settings file works. I'll clear it off. And at the down here we have to connect our to do app. So you can see we have installed apps, and this right where you add your app you've installed. In our case is the to do app. All right, so there are two ways of installing this app. You can just put to do here, which is the easiest way. So you just write to do here and this will add this particular app for you. You can also connect it from the configuration app where you do to do dot apps and then you do dot to do in dot config or to do config. Yeah, the C has to be a capital letter or uppercase. All right, so you do it like this and this also works. So you do to do apps then to do config, this also works. So with this one we are just connecting from the configuration apps file in the to do app. So when you open to do, you see apps.py and we are just connecting it from here to do config. So this will also connect it directly for you. So that's it. But I think let's go with the first one, which is very easy. You just write to do and that's it. All right, so we've connected our app, and that's what we need to do in the settings.py file. We can also change our time zone. My time zone here is GMT, so I'll do GMT, and that's it. Okay, so we can now close the settings.py file, and in our to-do file, we'll be doing some one or two things over there. So we'll open our to-do file, and the first we'll create a new file called urls.py. So urls.py. And in this urls.py, we have to import path from Django. So we do from Django.urls. We are coming to import path. Okay. And over here, we'll do URL pathing. So you just write URL pathings, and I'll explain what all of this is about. Is equal to, and then a list of some URLs will be put in here. So the URL is like a routing service that will route us from one site to another, or from one web page to another. So we have to also define this and connect this URL to the main URL file. So in our main file, we also have a what url.py file right here. So we have to connect our main one to our to do app one, so that the main url.py file knows about the one we've just created, and it can route anything right there. So let me get rid of this doc here, and over here I have to import include, and here I'm going to connect the main url.py file to our to do app url.py file. So I'll do path, and over here, and I'll give it an empty string, and then I'll do include, and in this include session I'm coming to include our url.py file in the to do app. So I'll just bring a string here, and I'll type to do.urls, and that's all. So this will connect url.py file to our to do one, and any other app you install in Django, you have to come and connect it right here in the url.py files, which is very necessary. So this is another thing we'll be doing, and that is it. So we are done with connecting our app. So I can now close the main, and then we'll now go ahead and create some templates. Okay. So in my to do app now, I have to create a folder, and I'll click on it, and I'll go new folder, and I'll call this folder templates. So this folder will be holding the HTML template for us. So, and in templates here, Django wants you to create another folder. You just don't write your index.html or home.html in your template. You have to create another folder, and the name of this folder should be equivalent to the name of your app. So the name of our app is what? To do. So you have to write to do, and in this to do folder, this is where you have to create your HTML file. So I'll go file, and I'll create our home page. So I'll do home.html. Okay, and that's it. So this is our first HTML file, and that there is an hack to do. Just press shift exclamation or shift that's one, and then this will come. You hit enter, and it will generate a HTML template for you. I'll change here to home page, and I'll just put a div here in the body tag, and inside this div I'll bring an h1, and I'll write here that okay, welcome to home page, to the, let's say, home page. Let's just put it right here. All right. Okay, so now we have to be able to connect these HTML files to our to-do app. Okay, we have to be able to connect them so that we can go to any of these HTML files and see the contents we have there. So to do that, we have a view. When you open your to-do app, you can see we have views.py. So we have to create views for this particular HTML file. So if you have many HTML files, you have to create views for them, so that this view, you specify it in your URLs, and you'll be able to go to that particular HTML file. So in views.py, I'll create a view. You can see create your view. So I'll create a view for our home page, which is home.html. So I'll define a function, and I'll call this function home page. This will take requests, and then let me do this in the right way. And then this will return render, because we are importing render here, and this will help us to render it. So we'll do render, and inside render we give it request, and over here we'll specify the path to our HTML file we want to render. So the path to our this HTML file, you can see we've created templates and we have what to do, and inside to do is in home dot what HTML. So we have to do the same thing. We'll do what to do, and inside to do we go to what home dot HTML. Okay, so it is the right path, okay, to get our home template. Before we check this home template, there is one thing we need to do in settings. We have to also know settings, know about this template folder we've created in our to-do app. So we have to let our settings know about it so that the settings can fetch out that template. So in settings, you scroll down. Where is it? You scroll down and come to we can see, where can we see templates? Okay, so right here in templates you can see theirs, and over here you just open it up and you have to type base there. So base there and forward slash templates, okay, just like this, so that our settings file will also know about this templates. So I think we don't have anything to do in settings anymore. Let me close it up. Now we have our urls.py, we have our views. So now we've gotten our view here, and we can show this view by first importing the view in our URL file, so that our URL file can locate that particular view and we can show it on the web. So for that, I'll do from dot, we are coming to import views. All right, so we've imported these views, and now we can define a path. And in this path, we'll give it an empty string because we want this to replace our home page. By default, now when we open this home page, or not you, when we open this home page, it's telling us that we've installed Django successfully. But I want this to be the home page. When we open it, we should see our home page. So I'll just give it an empty string, and then I'll do the template as view. I'll specify the template as views dot what home page, and I'll give it a name, and this name will call it what home page. Okay, so let me save this and let me bring back our terminal. If everything is correct, you can see it's still running. So let's open the web page now. Let's try and refresh, and you can see welcome to home page. So we have been able to link our home page or our template to our Django app. Okay, and that's the first step. It's a great step as well. This has been easy. So that's how you configure everything with Django. Okay, so now that we are done configuring our template, we have to continue and work with our to-do app. So to create this to-do app, we have to create a database, or we have to create a model. So in Django, we call them model. So the database is where when the user created to-do, we'll save it there, and then we can later retrieve it and display it for the user. We can delete it, we can edit it. So in your to-do app you've installed, we can see there is models.py file. So just open it and you can create models here. All right, so from by default they've imported your models for you. So let's create a model for our to-do app, or a database for our to-do app, anyhow you want to call it. So for that, I will just define a class and I'll call this to do. Right, I'll call it to do, and this will inherit from models.model. And the first thing we'll create in this class will be our title. So title for any to do. So this will be model.character field, and we can do max length of characters for title. I don't think titles are that long, so we can just do 500. And also we'll put blank is equal to false, because we don't want any user to leave this field without putting anything there. We can also do null is also equal to what? False. So you shouldn't leave it null nor blank. Okay, you have to put in some data there. I think I can close this up small so that we see. From there, we'll have a description for this to do. So description is model.test field, because the description is going to be long, so we need a test field, and we'll not specify any max length for it. But what we'll specify is blank and null. We don't want it to be null, or you can't just create a to do without any description or without any title. So we want it to be mandatory. We want the user to specify something there. All right, from there we'll do date created. Okay, and this will be models dot what date field. Okay, so we need a date field, only a date field, not a date time field. And inside here we'll do add, or no, we just do auto auto add now. If I'm typing this correctly, auto add or auto now add. Okay, auto now add, and we'll send this equals true. So when we said this is equals true, this is what we are saying. We are saying that okay, immediately the user creates a to do and hits the, let's say, the save button or the add to do button, we want to get that particular time. So we want Django to generate that time for us automatically. We don't want to do it ourselves. So that's how we are adding auto now add is equal to true. Then we also want the user to tell us the date he has completed. So for that one, we want to make it in a way that the user can choose to add or not. So we'll do date completed. And for date completed, it's also uh model.date field. And here we can do it null is equal to what? True, whereby we are telling the user he can leave it null and he can also leave it what blank, which is equal to what? True. Okay, so I think this is all we need. You can, if you want to build something big, if you want to build a very professional or very big looking to do app that have many functionalities, then you can extend your models. But I think I just need only these four things for a basic to do app. So from that, let's just do def define underscore underscore str. So underscore underscore, we give this self, and over here we'll have to just return self dot let's do self dot title, because the title is that short. Okay, so this is all we need to create a model for our particular to do app we want to build. So that's all we need in the models.py file. We can now close it up. All right, so in Django, we have something we call the Django admin panel. So when you create a model and you want to visualize this model online or on the web, and you will be able to see people who have created this, and for testing purposes, as you are writing your code for testing purposes, you have to register your model with this Django admin so that you'll be able to see it. So you can see in our to do app directory, we have admin.py, and over here we can register our model and then we can view it in the web. So from there, I'll just import the model. So from dot models, I'm coming to import the name of our model is to do, and then I have to register to do. So I'll do admin dot register, no, admin dot site dot register. Yeah, and then inside here we give it the model. So the name of the model is what to do, and that's all we have to do here. Okay, that's all we have to do here. So now we've registered the model, and now we are ready to even view our admin panel. To view the admin panel, you can see we are getting some red message here. So this the perfect time to what? Explain this particular red message to you. So they say you have 18 unapplied migrations. Your project may not work properly until you apply these migrations. Or so this is not an error. This is an issue with the database. That means we have to migrate everything we have created now into our database, and we can visualize it in our admin panel. Okay, so for that, I'll bring now a new panel. Just hitting the plus symbol there on my terminal, and over here I can first activate this virtual environment. So let me just go back, activate it, and then I'll do those migrations. So first type py manage dot py, and then you write make migrations. Okay, I'm writing Py here because I'm using Windows. If you are using Mac, then you have to just write Python. I don't know how it works on Mac, but on Windows, just write py manage.py make migrations. You hit enter, and this is going to create a migration for us. So you can see now we have what model to do created, and now we have to push this into our SQL model, and then we can visualize it in our admin. So this is created, and even to visualize this particular migrations made, you can see we have a migration folder here, and when you open it, you have our first initial migration, and this is what we have just done here. So if we create other models and we run make migration again to add to it, and we'll see another file here. So that's just by the way. All right, so the next thing to type is let me clear the terminal so that you can see. We write py manage.py. If I could type that correctly, manage.py, and over here we write migrate. Okay, so all our migrations are being applied, and they are applied successfully. So now we can go to the web where we have our home page, and I'll just copy this same home page because I want to also keep the home page here. And I'll open a new tab and paste the same home page here. And here I want to go to the admin panel. So I'll click / what admin. And when I hit enter, you can see we have our admin panel, and we have to what log in. So now I don't have the credentials to log in, but I can create those credentials from the terminal so that I can use them to log in and see whatever is in our database. And to create it, I'll create the terminal again, and over here just write pymanage.py and then write create super user and hit enter. So this will prompt you to type your username you want to use to log in. I'll type techwatt. Then email address, I'll just type felix922@gmail.com. Then password, let me type something. You guys will not see it when you are typing the password. Nothing shows, but just know what you have typed, and that's all. So my password didn't match, so let me just do it again. Okay, so this time around my password matched, but they tell me it's very short, but I like to ignore it like that. So I'll just type yes, and that super user has been created successfully. So I can create the terminal, get back to my first terminal, which is where we are running the server. And now I can open my web and then log in those details I've created. So techwatt with my password, it should be correct. Okay, and here we go. So this is the Django admin panel, and over here you can see we have a user model. So Django gives you a user model by default for authentication, and that's what we have just used to create the super user. But this is our to-do model we've also created, and when you open to-do model, you can see currently we have no to-dos, but I can choose to create a to-do. So add to-do, and then the title comes, and I can put in some title. Let me just put learning Django, right? Then in the title here, we can just put something. Django is a very maybe good framework from Python, or in Python. It's not from Python. Let's do it in Python. Just writing something. Okay. And then we can specify some date. Okay. So date completed. I can just write some date. So I can do 8/11/2020. 4, and I'll just save it. You can see in our models we've done date created, but because we have done the date created to be automatic in a database, we don't see it here. Django will handle that for us. So when I create it, you can see we have one to do here, and we can open it. And what I like most about the Django admin is that it allows you to delete, it allows you to edit, it allows you to save, and it has other functions that will help you. So this is what I want to show you about the Django admin, and this is our web server, our website homepage also running. So now let's continue and add some functionalities to our to-do app. All right, so from here we'll go to our views.py file where we'll be working most, and we'll also create a new file which we'll call create to do. So let's call this one create underscore to do.html. Okay, and here we'll still get our basic HTML template, and over here I'll change the title to what create to do. All right, so I'm creating to do here, and in the body tag I'll have in the body section I'll have a div, so that maybe later on when we want to style this, we have a div, it will be very easy for us. All right, so from here we need to create a form where we can get the title field, we can get the description, and we can get the dates and everything we just want. But Django also makes this easy for us. Django can help you create form for your models from Django, and you can use these forms which are very easy and makes you very productive, or makes your work very faster. So I'll introduce you to that, and we'll be using Django form so that you just learn new things about Django. All right, so for that, since we have this file, and we'll create a new file here in our to do app, and we'll call this file forms. Let's just call it form.py. And in this form.py, let's first import our model. So from .models, we import the model we've created, which is called to do, and we'll also import forms from Django's forms, not models. Forms. If I could do this right, forms. Okay. All right. So we are coming to create a form for our model so that we can embed this form into our HTML. Okay. We don't need to create all those fields. I'm just kidding. Django will help us to do this. So I'll create a class here and I'll call this class to do form because it's a form for our to-do list, and this will inherit forms.form. And inside here we'll have a meta class. So you write class and you type what meta, and over here you specify your model, which is equal to the model we've imported, and in this case the name is to do. Then one important thing, you have to what give it the fields you want. So fields, and this will be equal to a list of the fields you want. I want my title field. I also want my description field, right? And I also want my date completed field. So date completed field. So these are the fields I want from this particular model. For the date created field, as I told you earlier, it will be created automatically and handled by Django, not us. Okay, so that's a great one there. And this all we have to do in our forms.py. We can close it, and in our views now we have to create a view for create to do .html file. So we have to create a view for that. So I'll just create a view and I'll call this view create underscore to do, and it will take request, and we want to render return render, and we want to render create underscore to do .html. So that will be the template we'll be rendering. So over here in the create, I'll put some heading here. Let me just do h1 tag, and over here I'll just put create to do. Let's just do it like that. All right, so that when we go to that route we can know. So right from there in our urls.py file, we have to create a URL for that particular one as well. So this time around, write path, and inside here the particular route link will be, let's call it create to do, create underscore to do forward slash, and the view here is the view we've created with the HTML. So it's what create to do. So we've created it here, called the name is create to do. So we are just using that particular name, and we'll give it a name where I'll call it create to do. So name is equal to create to do. That's all. So when I save this, and when I save this one also, let me save all of them, and when I go back to the web, I should be able to go to that particular route. So the route name is what create to do, and when I hit that route, I should be able to see create to do here. Okay, so you can see we are now on that route create to do here. That means we have successfully now connected that particular template. So let's now render our form, okay, in this particular template. So let's render the form. All right, so I told you we've used Django to create our form, so we have to import that from our forms that we've created. We've created a form here, and we have to what import it so that we render it in our HTML. So in the views file, I will import that. So I'll just do from some.form. I'm going to import, and the name is what to do form. So I'll import to do form. All right, so over here what I'll do is that I'll instantiate that form. I'll call it form, and this will be equal to our to do form. So now I have this form here, and I can send it as a context to my HTML and then render it. So I can do a dictionary here, which I'll say form, and I can now go back to my HTML and what have access to that form and render it. So for that, I'll have to create a form in my HTML file, which I'll also call form. Okay, I don't need the action. All I need is the method, and the method here will be what post, and then inside here I'll just collapse it. All right, so when you are working with forms in Django or any other framework, in order to protect your information, you have to make sure you work with what CSRF token. So it's very good practice. If you don't do that, you can suffer from cyber attacks where your data, you end up losing data, or people can steal your data. So we have to make sure we add CSRF token, which stands for the cross site something fraudery. I forgot it. It's been a while I've learned that. So I'll just have to put it here in just one line. It's not something big. So you just have to write CSRF underscore token, and that's it. So that's it. You just have to do it like this, and that will prevent people from stealing your information. From there, in this particular form, we'll need a submit button, or a button for users to add their particular to-dos they will be creating. So for that, I'll just do an input, and the type here will be what? Submit, and I'll give it a value of add. So I'll call this value add to do, and that'll be it. So now let's render our form. So I'll render the form, and the button will be under the form. So to render the form, just bring this up, and we just type the name form, because we are giving it the name, we are giving it form in our view. So you can see we are sending form into our HTML. So that's the context, and we can just render it with this syntax. So this syntax is called the Ginger syntax. Okay, Ginger 2 or Ginger syntax. All right, so now when we go back to our site here and we refresh, we should see our form, but we are not able to see our form. That means we have not done something right. So over here, let's go back to our forms.py file, and then let me see. Okay, so forms, this should be silly of me, this should be forms.model form. Okay, right here. So this should be forms.model form, because we are creating a form for our model. And I think with this, when we can close this now, go back to the site, and then we can try refreshing and see if our forms appear. So let's refresh. Okay, let's check if the server is running. Let me save this, save our URLs as well. So okay, so we are having some errors. They say, okay, Django.forms has no attribute model form. So having two form, it should be model form, not model form. All right, so let's go back and test it, and I think this time around we should see our form. Hola guys, so here we go. So you can see with Django we are able to render this form just like this, but I think this form is very clumsy, and Django have a way of helping you to make it look a little bit good. So in your HTML file you can do form dot as underscore p, and this should make things look a little bit good, and you'll be able to I think style it. So let's refresh, and okay, now there is spacing between them. All right, so we have been able to get our form, and now the next thing we'll go ahead and do now is to get the data any user will put in the form. So let's assume you come to the site, you enter something here, you enter something here, and you click this button. We should be able to get whatever you've entered there. So we'll go back to our views, and we'll do that right here. So first we have to check if the method is a post, because we are waiting for a post request. So we'll do if request dot method is equal to post, and if this is the case, we have to get our form data. Okay, once we know it's a post request, that means we have to get our form data. All right, so what we'll do is that we'll do form data, let me call it form, but you should know is the data we want to get in the form. So equals to do form, and we do request dot post. Okay, so this will get us the data into our form, and now we have to validate if this data is correct. We have to know if this data is actually correct. Maybe somebody has entered something, only the title without description, and try to hit the add button. We have to check all those steps. So to do that, you can do if form, that should be form dot is valid. Nice one there. So you do if form dot is valid, that's why you have to save it. So then you go ahead and do form dot save. All right, so we are checking for post request. If it's a post request, thereby we know somebody has clicked the button, it's a post request. We get the data in those forms, and then we check if those data, like the data coming from the form, is valid. Once it's valid, we have to save it. So we just go ahead and save it right there, and after saving it, we can redirect the person to the same form field. Okay, so we can I think we have to import redirect. So from shortcuts, we can get redirect. Okay, we'll also be needing get for object error or get object error for. So for now, once you hit that button, we'll redirect the person to that same. Later on, we can redirect the person to view the to-dos. But for now, let's just redirect. Let's return redirect and redirect the person to create to-do. So let's return that. So after creating the form, we redirect you to that same place and you'll be able to create another form. When we are done with other functionalities, we can just redirect the person to go to all the to-dos he or she has entered. Okay, so if the form is not valid, what do we want to do? We want to maybe return an HTTP response to the person. So we have to also import that, and I'll import it at the down here. So from Django.http, we are coming to import HTTP response, or yeah, HTTP response, and we can be able to use this to get the user some message that okay, we want to return HTTP response, and what we'll put here, it will be, we can put invalid data or something like that, or just do invalid to do data. All right, so that's the HTTP response we return to anyone who enters maybe wrong data or it doesn't enter the data at all. So that's what we'll do. Okay, so once we do this, this will be able to create to do for us. I think this is all we need to create to do. This all we need to what create to do and save it into our database. So let's test it. Let me save it and then let's test it if it's working. All right, so I'll go back to the site and I'll first of all refresh. Okay, so after refreshing, they said no invalid data. That means refreshing is like doing a post request. So now let me just give it a title, dancing, and then I'll put here many software engineers don't or do not know how to dance. Okay, so that's what I'll put here, and the date I'll just paste the same date here and I'll add to do. So you can see everything works because I just click it and it has redirected me to this same page and the data is gone. To do that, we can check our database, we can refresh, and you can see we have that data saved in the database. So you can see it's the same thing, dancing, and we got everything. So our creating data route is working. So that's also done. So this is the first part. You know how to what create data and send this data, or create to do and send this to do into your database. Okay, so the next step we'll do here is to what create another template which will be able to use it to what view our to-dos. So I'll come to do here and go to new file, and over here I'm going to create a file called what view to-dos. So view underscore to do .html and hit enter. I'll put in the boilerplate code for HTML, and over here I'll change the title to what view to do. All right, so that's all. Inside there I'll put a div as usual, and inside this div I'll have a h1 that tells people that okay, or let's just write all to do's here. All right, so this will add that and we are done. So we have to create a view for this particular template as well. So I'll come down here and create another view, and I'll call this view view to do, if I could spell view to do correctly, and this will take request. And over here I'll just return that template for now, return render, and then inside here we give it request, not just request, and this should be view to do underscore to do.html. So okay, this is the particular route where the file is. Let me see it well. Okay, so from here we need to also create a URL for that particular one. So that will be path, and I want this to be what view to do, and this will be the name view underscore to do, and that's it. So when we go to view to do, the name is views.view to do, and we can go to that particular route now. So let's test it before we add that functionality. So instead of create to do, let's go to view to do, and you can see all to do's here. All right. So instead of manually just clicking and going between view to do and this thing, we can add uh links that will help us to maneuver our way through that. So I'll come to view to do and add a link that will help me to go to create to do. So over here I'll just have to add an anchor tag, and over here I'll put this in here, and then I'll specify that my URL, and URL is equal to, over here I'll put the name where I want to go. So where I want to go will be what, uh create to do. So I'm in view to do and I want to go to create underscore to do, and I'll show you in a sec where I'm getting that name from. All right, so this should take me to create to do. So I'll just write here create to do so that you can see it on the screen, create to do. All right, so this name right here, we are getting it from urls.py. So you can see in the urls.py we have given the name here create to do, so we can access these names from our templates, okay, for easy routing. So it's to route, it's good to use this name rather than using this path, because you can choose to change this path, and if you don't use the name and you change this path, you have to go through all your code changing wherever you've used this path. So it's better to use the name, and the names will just help you to prevent future errors. All right, so view to do, I've given a link to go to create to do, and in create to do I'll do the same thing. I'll give a link to go to view to do. So this should be view to do, and I'll just go back and check if that has been done. So create to do, I click on it, view to do, and when I come to view to do, I can click on create to do and it takes me back. So now I don't have to come and type it here. I can dynamically just click links and it will take me there. So now view all to-dos here. All your to-dos are here. We have to render all the to-dos from the database here. So we have to make sure our view will be able to do that. So for that, still in views, I'll have to get all the to-dos. And the to-dos are in our model. So we have imported the model, or not yet, so we have to import the model. So from .models, we have to import our to-do, and this will help us to get our data being stored in the database. Okay, so to get the data, you have to first write, maybe you can do to-do or any name you want to give to it. So me, I'll do to-dos. I'll just call it to-dos. I love to do, so I'll give it to do's is equal to the name of the database, which is equal to do dot objects dot, you can use get or dot all. Yeah, dot all should get you all the data in the database. So we want to render all those data. So to do's is what, to do dot objects dot all, and this will help us to get all the to do's, and we can now go ahead to what, render it on that particular template. All right, so since we have it, we can pass it here as a context, and we can just write this and write to do. So the name is to do's. So I'll write to do's, and this is to do. So we can now access this in the HTML file, but let me put a comma here so that everything looks good. Okay, so we can now put this and we can access this to do in our HTML file. But bear in mind the to do's here is a list, because we have a lot. It's not only one to do, so we have to loop through them before we'll be able to render them in our HTML. So we can just go to view to do, and inside view to do we have this here. So we can add yet another div, and in this div we are coming to render our to do. So first of all, we have to create a for loop, and we'll still use the what, ginger syntax. So to create a for loop in your template, you do for, let's do for to do in what, to do's, okay, like this, and then we have to end the for loop. So it's kind of weird, but that's the ginger syntax. You need to just learn it. It's very easy. So we have to do end for, because when you started a for loop, you have to end it in the template. So you do end for, and that's it. All right, so now we are looping through our to-dos and we are ending it here. So we want to render it. So the title, I want to render the title in an h4 tag. So I'll just do here and I'll write title. I'll first of all write title, and this I'll render my title. So I have to bring this and then do to do the title to get my title. If I could spell title correctly. So this will render all the to-dos I have. This will render the title for them. And before N4, I can add HR here, which will give me a line horizontally. So let's test it out. Let's see if the titles are being rendered. So you can see we have two data in our database right here, and their titles are being rendered. So from title, we can render the rest of the data. We can render the description. So for that, I'll need a paragraph tag, and over here I'll write description, and I'll just render the description. So to do dot description, and this should add a description to it. The last thing I'll render will be the date created. So I'll also do that in a paragraph tag. So I'll do a paragraph and I'll put up date created. Okay, so this should render title, description, and date created. It's left with the date completed that will render, but let's see if that's working now before we render that. All right, so you can see we have our title, learning Django, and the description is there. The date created is also there. The same for dancing, everything is there. So now let's just go ahead and render the date completed. So for the date completed, I want us to render it based on the condition, because we have done it to be blank. No, we have allowed the user to choose to give us the date completed or not. So we have to render it on a condition. Let's first check if the user have given us date completed. If not, we have to just ignore it. So we'll still use a condition for that. So we'll do if condition. So I'm just doing all of this so that you will learn a lot of things in this single tutorial. So we are going to use if. You can see how we use if statement in our templates. All right, so for that I'll do if to do dot. So if to do dot date completed is not null, we'll render it, but we have to also end the if. So we'll do end if using the weird ginger syntax. So end if, and we'll end the if just like this. All right, so now let's put the data here. So since if it's not if it's specified, we are going to what, put it in another paragraph tag. So I'll just copy this and modify it. All right, so if it's not null, we are coming to what, render it right here. All right, so that's fine. So now let's check and we'll test that functionality if it's working right. So when I refresh, okay, we have everything looking nice. So you can see all these ones we've created have dates completed. So now let's go to create to do, and let's create a to do that has no date completed. So with this to do, I'll say let me just call it Python list. So I would say the to do is I have to learn list in Python, and then I'll not specify date completed. So I'll just add this to do, and I'll go to to do's, and if I go to do's, you can see this one we don't have a date completed because we haven't specified it, and that's not rendered because we've actually specified this as a condition in our template. Okay, so here's create to do, here's also create to do. You have to change that. One should be view to do. So when you go to create to do, it should take you to view to do. So let's modify that. So if you come to create to do, this should tell you to what, view to do's. Okay, so view to do's, it takes you here. Create to do, it takes you back. All right, when we finish, we'll link everything to the home, and then we can just do everything from the home. Okay, so now we are able to view all our to-dos. The next step is to add the delete and the what, edit button, so that we can delete and what, also edit to-dos. Okay, so let's first implement the delete, because that's quite simple. So we'll go into our views and we can do that there. But before we do that, let's even add the buttons in our view to do. I think we are done with create to do, so let's go to view to do and add our buttons. So for the buttons, we are going to do it as a form. So we are going to create a form right here so that we can check for post request, and then we will know which item we are getting. So I'll just give it a form, and then in this form I'll make the method as post, and this is the post. And over here, let me just bring this down. And we have to also make sure we are protecting our data by enabling the CSRF tokens. So I'll do that and specify CSRF token here. And then this form will include buttons. So we will have two buttons. So the first button, we'll call it the delete button. And inside this delete button, we'll do some couple of things. We'll give it a value, and the value here will be our to-do.id. So if you want to delete a particular to-do, you have to get ID for it, and the database do that for us by default. When you create the database, it associates every item you populate it with an ID. So the first item can have ID of 1, the second item will have ID of 2. So we want to put those IDs in the button, so that any button you click, you get that particular ID and we can delete or edit it. So over here, I'll do to-do.id in this particular button. So this button is delete, and the value is to-do.id, and the name, let's give it a name of what? Delete, so that we can actually get the button in our views.py. So I'll just do this twice, put this right here. So this one will be also that, the name will be edit, and the name right here will also be what? Edit. All right, so that's it. Now we've added the buttons, and we can go to the side to see if we have the buttons added. So you can see we have delete and edit associated. For now, it has no functionality. So let's work on the delete to be able to delete a to-do. All right, so now we'll go back to our views.py, and over here we are coming to write some codes to delete. Okay, so to delete, we have to first check if there is a post request, because we have a form in there. So we do if request the method is post. So now if the request the method is post, we have to get there are two buttons. If it's only button, we can just go ahead and do whatever I want to do, but since there are two buttons, we have to make sure we get the button which is being clicked is either the edit or the delete. So we'll do if the name, which is delete, we are giving the name delete in post, right? So in the post request that is coming, if we have the name delete, because you can see over here we specify name to be delete. So if you have the name called delete right here, then we have to get the to-do ID for that one and delete it. So if it's delete, if we have delete in the post, we will do what? We have to delete it. So we'll do to-do underscore ID is equal to then request dot post dot get. So let me make it all cap, post dot get, and we are going to get the delete ID. So this will return an integer value. It will be 0, it will be 1, based on which of them you want to delete. All right, so since we get this ID, we'll use this ID to query the database, or to query that particular data, and then we'll go ahead and delete it. So we'll do the to do, that particular to do will be equal to our to do database also. So it will be to do.objects.get, because the database name here is to do, and then we'll get that particular to do. So we specify ID is equal to do underscore what? ID. And once we get that particular to do, it's very easy to delete. So you just do to do dot delete, and that's all. So this will go ahead and what? Delete that particular to do. And after deleting it, we can just return and redirect the person to that same page. So we are redirecting that person to the same to do page, so that you can view other to do. So we can just redirect the person to view to do. That's all. So that's all for delete. Let's see if it will work. So let me go refresh, and after refreshing, let me delete I think dancing, because some software engineers know how to dance. So let me just delete that one, and you can see it's deleted. When I refresh, it's deleted. So that has been deleted, and if you go to our database and we refresh, you can see the dancing has now been deleted. So we are able to now delete a to do. The next step, which is the tedious step among all of them, or a little bit tricky among all of them, is the edit to do. So that one, we have to get this to do and send it to an edit page for it to be edited. So to do that, I'll first of all create another file. and I'll call this file edit to do.html. Over here, I'll do the same thing. I'll get all of this and I'll call this, I'll give it the title of edit to do. And in the body, as usual, let's bring a div, and in this div, we get, let's give it h1 and tell people to edit to dos here. Okay, so we will be editing the to dos here, and later on we'll also render a form here which will be able to edit the to do and save the to do. So now we are done with view to do. So let's implement that. All right, so in our views, we have to now check if is the second button, which is the edit button, that has been what clicked. So we'll check else if as if we are not going to do request. So as if edit in, so we are doing else if edit in to do in what request.post. If we have the edit button clicked, then we have to also be able to get that particular ID, and then we'll be able to edit it. So we'll do to do underscore ID is equal to request.post. So it's the same thing right here. So I'll just copy this and add some of the things to it. So instead of delete, this should be what edit. So if the edit button is clicked, we get the ID for that particular one, and simply what we will do is that we can't edit the particular to do over there on that particular page. We have to send it to another page to edit it. So we have to just redirect. We'll return redirect, but for now return redirect, and then we'll return redirect to the next page we want to do. So let me just create that page for, I've created the HTML file already, so let me just create a view for that particular page. So def, we call this edit to do. This will take request, it will take both request, and it will also take to do ID. So and return render request dot to do, and then this should be edit underscore to do dot html. All right, so let's go to our urls.py and create a route for that particular one also. So this one will be different. So let's do it path, and here it will be what edit to do, and views dot what edit to do. The name will be edit to do, and that's fine. But over here we'll be giving it an ID parameter. Okay, so to give it an ID, because we'll be getting that ID from the HTML when they click the button, and we use that ID to locate that particular to do and be able to what edit it. So for that, I'll give it, it's an integer. You can specify integer string, but when you specify string, then your Python you have to do casting to integer also. So int, and I'll call this what to do underscore ID, close it up here. So that's fine. So this should be able to what pass this ID into our views. We'll get it here, and we'll use this one to get that particular to do and edit it. So now we'll redirect to edit to do, and then we are also sending a to do ID along. Where is it? The ID we'll be getting from this button here, we'll pass it into that particular view. We are redirecting the user to that particular file, and we are also sending the ID. So we'll call it to do ID is equal to also to do ID. So we are sending that ID, and that ID will be catched here, and we'll use that particular ID to do whatever we want to. Okay, so over here now, let's use this ID to access whatever to do we want to do. So we'll get that to do. So we call it to do is equal to we use the get for, and over here we'll give it to do. So we can use the ID to query the database straightforward. By using get for is much safer because it catch errors for you and do a lot of background works for you as well. So we take to do, we give it the to do, and we'll give it the ID, which is also equal to our to do ID. That's all. So this will get us the particular to do we want to edit. Okay, so now after getting this to do, we have two options. After editing the to do, we have to save it back to the database. So we have to check if the person have finished editing and whatsoever. So in our HTML file, we still have some job to do. So edit to do, we still have some job to do here. We still need to do some job here. But let's finish with the views before we do it. So after getting this, we'll check if request dot method is equal post. That's if the person is saving the to do. Okay, we have to get that particular form and then we'll do whatever we want to do it. So now if it's post, we want to get a form. So form is equal to, we have our to do form. When we are getting the form for what that particular to do, we'll pass in request dot post, and we'll also pass instance. So we don't want to get all the to do's. We want to get only that to do which is associated with that particular ID. So we do instance is equal to what our to do, which is that single to do. So this form, we've created a form. I told you how to do Django form and we've done that. So we are getting this form back so that we can render this form in the edit file so that you'll be able to edit it. All right, so we'll get this form now and we'll also check if this form is valid. So we'll do if form dot is valid, then we'll do form dot save. Okay, so this is all we'll do. We'll return redirect. We'll return redirect to view to do's. We can just do else here and we'll get the form. We just give the user the form. So the form is equal to do form, and we give it the instance, that particular instance. So instance will be equal to what? To do. Okay, so at the end of the day, we need to pass this form and we can be able to grab it and display it in the HTML. So we'll do, the name is form, so we do form. All right, so I think this is all the logic for editing. So we'll come back to edit to do, and in edit to do here we have to create a form. So we have a div, not a there. I have a div, and inside this div we'll first render the form and then we'll create another button under it which we can use to save it. So it's a form. We create a form and we want we don't need the action, we just want the method to be a post. Okay, so the same thing, we have to put in CSRF token here so that our data don't get leaked. So we do CRF token here, and the next thing is to render that particular form so that we'll be able to edit the to do. So it's the same thing, it's kind of creating to do. So we put in form here, and to make it beautiful we do it dot as p underscore p. All right, so this will put it right there, and now the next thing we need is the button. So input, and this will be the type submit, and we'll give it a value of save, so that the user can save the to do. So value of what? Save. And I think that's all we need in this particular one to do it. So let's save it and let's check this out. So over here, let's refresh, and then let me click on edit to do. So still it's not doing anything. So let me see if I have saved the views.py file. So let me save it here. All right, let's go back. Let me see, edit to do. Nothing is happening. We are not doing something right. Guys, so here is the problem. You can see we are checking for the button name to be edit, not edit to do. So I can just remove this and the problem should be solved, because in our view to do, we have the button name is edit, and I don't know, I've done a typo there, putting edit to do. So that's done now, and let's check it. So now if I want to edit a to do, I click on edit to do, and you can see we have it right here. So let me make some modification, learning Django today, and let's see if I add it, if it will be added. So I'll save this, and instead of learning Django, it should be what? Learning Django today. So guys, this is working now. You click on create to do, you'll be able to add a new to do. So let me just put in something here, new to do, and over here I'll just do it to do and I'll put something. No, so let me just leave this field alone and add to do, and that's added. So if I view to do, I have this new to do, I can come here and edit it. Okay, I'll write creating a to do app in Django, and then I can specify this same date, save it, and you can see the modifications has been done and everything is working. So we can add to do, edit to do, and do whatever we want. Okay, create to do, view to do, it's working. We can delete to do, it's working. We can edit to do, it's working. So this is what we will be building, and this is what we have built so far, guys. This tutorial is very long, but I think if you watch to this point, you have really learned a lot of things, and based on these things you have learned, you can build different projects. This is something called CRUD. We create, we update, we delete, and then we what, I think that's all: create, read, delete, and update. So we have implement all these functionalities in this particular tutorial using the Django framework. This code and everything will be on GitHub for you guys, so you can just pull it and you practice. Once you are building along, if you are having problems, you can check it out. All right, so maybe the final thing I will do is to maybe add this to the home. So I'll close all this app and open my home.html, open here, and then I can add the links to the home. So this particular href, which you can take you to create to do, I'll just put it right here, and over here I'll break so that I'll put the other one at the down. So the same thing, and I'll change the name to what, view to do. So view to do, and let's do it right here, view to do. Okay, that's cool. And then from there I'll link home to right here, so that these ones can also have access to the home page. So if you are here, you can also go back to home page. So I'll just do home page here. I'll just do home page, and over here I'll write what, I'll copy this and paste this same thing in create to do. Where is it? Create to do. So we have this home, and then we have break. So now I can literally go here, refresh it, and I can go back to home. I can go to create to do, I can go to view to do, I can go home. I think in which file is this, view to do, there should be a break so that they are under one another. So view to do, where are you? Let me just put a break here, and then when I view this and I refresh, now if I go here, you can see you can view to dos, you can create to dos, you can go back to home, you can view to dos, you can edit to do, you can save it back, you can delete to do, left with only one to do. And guys, that's all. So this is how you can use Django to create this. It's unfortunate that I have not applied any CSS to make it look nicer, but once you have this, using CSS on this is kind of very simple. You just have to link it to your Django app and you'll be able to do that. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If this is something good, is this is something you want, if you want Django tutorials, let me know. And if you want us to host this so that you learn how we can host Django projects, let me also know in the comment section. If you want us to turn this, add certain functionalities, you can all add those things in the comment section. And also, if this is your first time, make sure you subscribe, you share this with your friends. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in upcoming tutorial.